moved from the USA to India in terms of Instagram and reserve migration. What influenced this decision?
That's a great question. I think a lot of people ask me that. The first thing they say is, wait, like, don't people usually do it the other way around?
Yeah.
And so you don't meet very many people who move from the US or the UK or the West and come back to the East. So I think a lot of things influenced my decision. As a kid, we were brought up really traditionally, and I think we'll get more into that later. But parents were very traditional. We would visit India once a year, once in 2 years. Every summer vacation was usually a visit to India. We were exposed and we fell in love with the city and our culture on a very on the ground level in the actual country itself. And I don't know, it was almost kind of fate or destiny that I was supposed to move back. I remember once when I was, I think, 13 or 14, I just told my mom, like, next time we go to India, like, I want to learn how to read Tamil. And my mom was like, why? And I was like, I don't know, I just do. So like every morning, like we had a tutor come on my summer vacation and I would like learn Tamil script and now in my work that's very useful because most of the lyrics and the content that we get are in Tamil. So I think small things like that kind of made me keep at the back of my mind that India is always a possibility to move. But then the real reason I moved is because a lot of people don't know, but my undergrad was in biochemistry. I did biochemistry and physics and Spanish, and did nothing with that.
Wow.
Yeah. And then post that, I realized I didn't want to do medicine. I didn't want to do research. So I went into education. And my master's was actually in elementary education. And I taught for 2 years in Chicago. I was a first grade teacher, full-time teacher for first grade. And because of that, I fell in love with education. I was actually interested in doing more with it. And I applied for a sister organization in India as a manager. And that was actually the first reason why I moved to India in the first place, is that I worked with an NGO called Teach for India. And for 3 years, I was managing, coaching, and training teachers who are working in low-income schools, like in slums, in low-income private schools. And eventually I was traveling throughout India as well, and visiting very rural areas such as like rural Bihar, Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, and we were working with entrepreneurs who were also trying to get into the education space. So that's the first reason I moved to India, is that I was completely in education. And I actually wasn't dancing for quite some time, like maybe now and then for fun. But since I was a kid, if you were to ask me as a child what I would want to do, I never said acting. I never said dancing. I always said choreography. I don't know why. I was like, my mom used to film these like Olium cassettes, and it would just be back to back songs. And you would just like sit there for hours and just like watch songs like on repeat over and over again. And I think somewhere like if you ask me now about the 90s and 2000 songs, I can like tell you wait like scene by scene what's happening in the song. And so somewhere like I just fell in love with the whole idea of choreographing. And when I was in India, I was like, you know what, you're here. This is your chance to kind of try. And like, if you don't try now, then you'll always regret it. And worst thing happens that you fail. So then I started my own dance company. My first class had one student. and and then we grew from there. And then I was able to quit my other job and then take this on full time. So that's literally like I don't know if that answers the question, but I don't think there was just one point where I was like, I'm gonna move to India. It's kind of something that's built over the years. But the thing that actually made me physically move was a job that had nothing to do with dance. But that allowed me to later on be able to pursue.
Awesome.
I think we can relate a lot to that as well. When you're outside of India, you tend to love the culture a lot more, I think, because you miss out that. You don't see it every day. It makes you different when you go into different spaces. And that brings us to our next question. As an Indian growing up in a different country, you open to a wave of different cultures. Okay, so you came from America. America's got a load of different cultures going on. What kept you grounded to your roots?
I mean, I think number one, like the credit has to go to my parents and like particularly my mom. I think she till this day she only wears like sari salwar, and I'm not saying like that's the sign of someone who's grounded in their roots at all. But she, that can just tell you like from that, seeing her own that wherever she goes, whether it's a grocery store, whether it's coming to my school and coming from my parents' teacher conference. She was very proud to be Indian always. And and further from that, like things like every Sunday she would take us to the temple. She was very involved in like the local organization. There was like a Tamil Sangam that was there, and she was like heading so many things, and just watching her always stay so involved in the community. I think that has been instilled in us very much, just from the observation and from her pulling us in, and having us do our part. We would perform all the time. She put us in Bharatanatyam, so we trained for 15 years. We did our Arangacham. Me and my sister did that together. She put me in Veena class. Like I remember, I told my mom, I was like, I want to learn how to play the saxophone, and she's like, no, you play the Veena. And so things like that made us very it's like that sense of culture was very instilled in us. And I think to the point where you guys said like where you grow up among many different cultures when you're abroad, I think it's right in the sense that like you tend to become more proud because you're among such different cultures. Like I remember in high school, we'd have like something called the cultural assembly. Like once a year, they would have like an assembly where like the entire school would come, and it would just be like different performances of different cultures. And I would always head the Indian one, and like something as small as that, it just made you so proud. Like you'd bring all the Indians together, and then you'd be like, "We're Indian" in front of the whole school, and show that. And so, I think, I mean, credit mostly goes to parents for sure. And then obviously, like you said, like being in a different country, you tend to want to like show like your roots even more because you're around so many different people.
Like I mean, upbringing does play a major role. Like I think we wouldn't be the way we are if it wasn't for our parents, because we also, with the Western community, we all want to be that way, We obviously all. So, with that being said, your love for dancing, choreography, and performing, what are 3 things that actually drive you to continue to pursue your passion?
That's a great question because I think from the outside, people are like, your job is so fun. It looks very rosy and like kind of glamorous at times. But it's very, very unglamorous. I would say like 90 to 95% is not glamorous at all. It's a lot of sheer hard work and drive that allows an artist to actually get to a point where they can self-sufficiently live their life. Um, some of those factors I think that keep me going. I mean, number one is like I love my job. Like I love creating. I love dancing. I love working with other people to create something. Just the whole process of like doing something bigger than yourself. And you get to do that day in and day out. And sometimes the project comes where you do it for the work, but then a lot of times you get to choose what you create, right? I think that's been the biggest blessing of social media is that you get to put out your own work and it can reach a wider audience, and that comes straight from your heart. So I think number one is just the love for the job. Like if you don't love this, like you cannot keep doing it, for sure. That's one. I think the second thing that's always in the back of my mind is how much my family and my parents have done for me to be able to do this. Like, like my parents always say, we worked so hard to bring you to the US. You come back. And so I think I want to be in a place where I can be self-sufficient financially. That's a big, big thing. And I think, every artist needs to, like, it's a reality check. You need to be realistic and you have to be able to fund yourself. You can't, there's like, you can't just keep sliding by in life. I think every artist needs to come to a point where they need to be financially secure. And I think that's another thing that keeps me going because I don't take help from my parents. Like now and then they're like, we'll help you. And like, I'm very grateful for that. But I'm at a point where it's like, I want you guys to enjoy your life. Like you've done enough for me. And I also want them to not worry about it. That's like another big, hopefully, gift that I can give them and say like, look, I'm doing well. Like gratefully doing the thing that I love. And I'm still like doing it in a place where I'm financially set. And I think that's kind of the second thing is like for them, like I want them to not worry and I want to work hard to be in a place like for them and for myself as well, where I can like peacefully live life, you know. So that I think that's the second thing. The third that keeps me going is especially when I do workshops and I work with students, or I work with same actress who is not confident and everything. I love seeing the transformation for someone who's not as confident in their own skin, their own body, or they're just overthinking it to a place where they feel so good about themselves. That is something else that really, really drives me. Is that I love watching people like fall in love with themselves, and I love the fact that it happens through dance. And I've seen that time and again, and I've had students message me years later and be like, I still remember that workshop, or I still remember that that day where you said this or you did this, and that really affected and changed my life. And I'm wondering, if just dance and that can affect someone and change someone's life that much, then I definitely want to keep doing that and hopefully reach more people and spread that that knowledge.
Amazing. I know that you touched base on immigrating, but I don't think there's any better place to be than India. Especially in your line of work, with types of dance forms, culture shocks, all of that. I think India is the best place to be, actually.
So you definitely are.
Yeah.
You made the right choice. You've made the right choice. What I love is that we can identify with you so much.
Yes.
Like you'd be surprised as youngsters in South Africa. There is so much that is in common with other Indians abroad. Like
Yes.
non-residing Indians. Because everything you've picked on is actually stuff that we go through as well.
Yeah.
And what drives us as well, because both of us are not on radio full time. It's actually it's a hobby that we
Yes.
love doing. Because we love South Indian culture. And it's that sometimes the forces of the universe that bring you together, and I think that's what it's done with you as well. So our last question for you is what is your ultimate dream?
So I have a few. I think the first, I would say, dream that I have. There's one that's like very kind of find the right word for it. Like obvious, I feel like I think I want to reach a point where I choreograph a song and it like reaches in like I want to choreograph a song that really speaks to me. Like I'm very proud of like the concept or the style, or like I do something or contribute something that affects cinema in some way. And I want to do that and have it like reach people. I remember in high school, I used to train in jazz in high school, and I had this teacher. Her name was with Van Buren or something like that. And I remember she was like, "Your art should reach people, and it could make them happy, could make them uncomfortable, could make them angry, but in some way they should react to it and they should want to like discuss it. So I want to do something like that where it really reaches people and like, or maybe challenges their thinking, or something like that. And I want it to be on a bigger platform and in a bigger scale. And I think that's why I'm drawn to cinema, because you can have that scale. So that's definitely one dream that I have, and I think with that, hopefully reaching a place where with enough influence or with enough financial standing, I just really want to like help people. I don't know exactly how I want to do that. If I want to go back into education, or if I wanted like develop a dance curriculum, or I don't know what it is. But I do want to go back into that space, like that the satisfaction that I got from education. I want to go back and do that as well, in the sense of like reaching more people and just helping people. And I'm right now I'm not in a place where I'm able to do that, because like we're still in the grind, we're still in the hustle of like making it work and making it actually in the industry. But I think at one point I would like to revisit that, and that's definitely another dream as well. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Wonderful.
Well, I think you can achieve it. When you
Yes.
have the love for people in your heart, it pushes you in a way where you tend to get these opportunities where
Yes.
you can help people. I mean, right now, and it's a small scale thing, but people that are going to be listening to your interview will be able to really identify. That's the one thing. And you're going to help a lot of South Indians out of their shell here in South Africa. I mean, we've seen like 3 of your videos so far, like, you know, the recent ones. That's video we heard, we've watched, and we've also watched which
I've seen the such a video on many South African WhatsApp status. I just want to tell you, you've made it on South African WhatsApp.
You were on both our WhatsApp statuses.
And a whole lot of other people on my list, actually.
You were also on the official Tamil South Africa page on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
We'll share the link.
We will share with you,
So it's your video has had huge reach.
Yes.
And I think even if it hasn't maybe sunk in yet or absorbed, you actually are doing something. And it's not only on an India platform, it's a global platform.
Global.
So I think congratulations to you. And thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule.
Yes.
Thank you guys. I had so much fun talking to you, and I hope next time we can connect in person as well. I think that would be so fun.
Most definitely. If we're in India,